Well, thank you very much. How are we doing today? I want to apologize, though. I don't know how everyone assembled here without a trigger warning first. So if you need a safe space after all this, the media's over here. We'll have a mediation group to help you recover with the truth emanating from the stage. I want to thank the Republican Party. I want to thank Keith Downey, Chris Fields, everyone involved. If you weren't here yesterday, the State Central Committee met, and that's the establishment, of course, right? The evil establishment. They had a practice vote about do you support the Packers or the Vikings, right? And I thought, because I'm holding court here, in light of this, I thought I might bring to the floor an amendment that, in light of our nominee, let's build a wall on the St. Croix River and deport all the Packers fans. Who's in for that? All right. All right, that may be a divisive comment. I'm sorry. So I'm going to try to unite here. I know, I didn't ask you permission, Mr. Chairman, for this, but I thought we'll take an informal poll, briefly, of the group. We've all had different candidates and different perspectives, so just raise your hand real quick. Real quick. You can close your eyes if you don't want to be seen for who you support. We all have different candidates. I know we're here to unite, so just raise your hand. Who here is for Hillary Clinton for jail? All right, that's what I'm talking about. Indeed, think about this, but seriously, we have a nominee on the Democrat side who hit a reset button that she couldn't even spell, with a dictator in Russia who's rewritten the boundaries in Eastern Europe. We have a nominee on the Democrat side, presumptively, who was part of the retreat in Iraq that led to the rise of ISIS. We have a nominee on the Democrat side who believed we should lead from behind in Libya and left in chaos and disaster in that country. And the credentials she's running on is her time as Secretary of State. We have a nominee on the Democrat side who stood over the coffins of dead Americans and lied to the families of the Benghazi Four about what actually happened. That should disqualify her fundamentally from being commander-in-chief of this country. There's a lot to litigate with the Obama foreign policy. Correction, the Obama-Hillary foreign policy. You see, we have the first president who sees himself as a citizen of the world. That's what Barack Obama sees himself as, more so than a citizen of America. I call his foreign policy a coexist foreign policy. Have you seen that bumper sticker, that purple bumper sticker? Does it make you throw up in your mouth just a little bit? There's nothing wrong with coexisting, just like there's nothing wrong with engaging. But those are means, not ends. When coexisting and engagement is your end as opposed to your means, you start coexisting and engaging with utterly destructive ideas. You make friends with Cuba and Iran. That's what we have at the top right now. You see, that ideology was born on campus, in the ivory towers of Ivy League institutions. I went to school with a lot of little Obamas and little Hillarys and little Clintons and little Bidens. See, they were told that if you just apologize enough, then they'll coexist. Pass enough UN resolutions, everything will be fine. Maybe give away a sham peace prize to the president before he's ever done anything. And maybe the world will bow to that. Well, the reality is our enemies don't want to coexist. What happens when ISIS, instead of wanting to coexist, cuts off the heads of Christians? What happens when, instead of wanting to coexist, Iran breaks every aspect of the nuclear deal we were lied about to get a weapon to wipe Israel off the map? What happens when, instead of coexisting, China decides to build islands in the South China Sea to expand their influence? What happens instead of coexisting? Russia, as I said, rewrites boundaries. North Korea obtains nuclear weapons. You want to get a sense of where Iran will be in 10 years? Look at North Korea. Bill Clinton told us that deal would lead to a non-nuclear North Korea. Today they're flaunting their nuclear weapons. Iran will be doing that soon. What happens when, instead of wanting to coexist, international institutions subvert our sovereignty and unelected and unaccountable bureaucrats internationally want to control and undermine our sovereignty. You see, the left has forgotten that history is not over. I will posit you this, if the 21st century is not an American century, it will not be a free century. Think about that. Because after World War II, our friends in Great Britain, they took a knee exhausted after 2 wars and handed America the keys to the free world. And we took on the communists and took on Islamists since 9/11, but let's say we were to take a knee of our own accord or because we're drowning in debt. Who do we hand the keys to? Who else is out there? There's nobody. It's not a question of should America lead in the world. It's a question of how. And I don't believe America should be the world's policeman and nation building around the globe. But if America isn't the world's sheriff, standing proud with a military capable of defeating our enemies, then the 21st century could be a century of chaos. It could be a century where our enemies have the initiative. Just look at Western Europe. That's what happens when you gut your militaries to pay for your welfare states. You open up your borders, you don't demand allegiance, and you get silently invaded from the inside. Western Europe forgot who they were, and so they're riding the high seas of history. If we don't learn those lessons, we could be soon thereafter. So I don't have to talk to you too much about the Obama, Clinton, Biden, Kerry foreign policy. It is a blame America first foreign policy where you get, on one hand, the bin Laden raid, which we all appreciate and salute, but you also get the Bo Bergdahl swap, where you're trading 5 of the worst terrorists for a deserter. I will say, though, none of this has, notwithstanding our commander-in-chief, we have so many men and women who nonetheless raise their right hand to defend this country and our Constitution. And I want to ask our veterans here, if they would, to stand up so we can recognize the vets in this audience who serve our great nation. What we owe these men and women and the men and women serving is a commander-in-chief befitting the honor that they show our nation. Here at home, we have to be the good citizens that our republic requires. We have to rebuild our military, address our debt, refocus on free enterprise and our economy, believe in life, limit our government, stand for our Constitution, stand firmly behind our First and Second Amendments. I could go on and on and on. I wrote a book about it. I'm not going to plug my book, but part of the book is about gritty citizenship, the tough citizenship, the daily duties of citizenship. We need less bike helmets and ribbons and fifth-place trophies. We need some gritty toughness in this country. So it brings us to today, 2016, the Republican Party. We've had quite an interesting election season, no doubt. You know, Paul Ryan took a little bit of time. He's still figuring out where he stands after a political revolution that saw 16 candidates utterly mowed over by a dynamo of media in the Republican Party. After 7 years of Obama, as conservatives and as Republicans, we know what has happened to our nation under this president. We've seen Obama fundamentally transform America. We've seen John Kerry just recently stand up in front of a commencement address and talk about a future borderless world. They don't even hide it anymore. They talk about the borderless world, the citizens of the world. We see a socialist, 74 years of age, who honeymooned in the Soviet Union and thinks bread lines are a good thing, leading in many Democrat primaries. We see a social engineering of our military and political correctness run amok. Ultimately, I posit you this in this election. Regardless of who you were for, many of us had other allegiances with other candidates. What the stakes of this election are about, and I think Donald Trump articulates very well, either we have a country or we don't. Either we believe in America or we don't. And it is sad that that's where we've come. That literally what we're litigating at the presidential level is whether we believe we should have borders, whether we should believe in the principles our founders gave us, whether we should believe in capitalism and free markets, whether we should believe in the First Amendment and the Second Amendment, whether we should believe that our Supreme Court should honor the Constitution. This is quite literally what is at stake between two visions of America, because if not the Republican Party, there is no America. And without America, there is no free world. So make no mistake about it. The Republican Party is the linchpin of the free world. It's a fact. You see, John F. Kennedy, he'd be a Republican today. Bill Clinton would probably be a Republican today from the 90s. How far they've gone, how much they've descended into progressivism, secularism, globalism, environmentalism, any other ism you want, is reflective of a Democrat Party, a liberal party that no longer believes in the initial promise of America. It kind of makes me want to go run on a college campus and write the words Trump in chalk. Right? Because the way they overreact is a reflection of the fact that their tolerance is completely intolerant. That their belief in America is this thin, if only you agree with them. So I will close by saying, I used to say that I fought on the battlefield or elsewhere so that my kids wouldn't have to. I got 3 little boys, Gunnar, Boone, and Rex. I don't know, they're not very Minnesota names, I gotta say that. Not very Norwegian either for a Norwegian. Gunnar, maybe, but no. I want to give to them an exceptional nation. Just like you want to give your sons and daughters, grandsons and granddaughters an exceptional nation. I want them to understand why America is truly special. It's not because we're arrogant or proud or wealthy. It's because what America represents is the exception in human history. Less than 1% of anyone who's ever walked on this earth has ever lived free. The vast majority have lived under dictators, despots, zealots, theocrats, oligarchies, and if they voted in sham elections. Here in America, we are the exception. We are special because we believe we are endowed by rights from a creator. We believe in freedom of religion, not freedom from religion. We believe in balance of powers because we understand the fallen nature of humans who seek power and tyranny and pride, and if they're not checked, can lead to the vices that our founders warned against. So I no longer say that I fought so that my kids don't have to. I say I fought knowing my kids will have to as well. And I hope they carry a rifle, because there's no more dignified service than that, but they don't have to carry a rifle. They can carry the balance sheet of an entrepreneur or a capitalist or a patriotic reporter or an activist. Whatever it is, each one of us are called to be in the arena for this great nation. So I commend you for being here. All of us have been through a rocky